the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, may peace be upon you. This is Saad Farrukh and we welcome you to the Book of Light. In this episode, we are going to proceed with verse 102 from the 4th chapter of the Holy Quran, that is Surah Al-Nisa. O Prophet, when you are with them, the believers, and stand to lead them in prayer, let a group of them stand with you in prayer, keeping their weapons. When they finish performing their prostration, let them go behind you and let the other group that has not yet joined pray with you. They should also be on guard and keep their weapons. The unbelievers love to see you neglecting your weapons and your baggage so that they may swoop on you. All of a sudden, there is no blame upon you. If you put away your weapons because of the inconvenience caused by rain or your illness, yet be on guard. God has prepared humiliating punishment for the unbelievers. When you finish prayer, remember God. Standing, sitting, and lying. When you are secure, establish prayer. Prayer is obligatory upon the believers at the appointed hours. Do not be lax in following up the enemy. If you are suffering, they too are suffering similar hardships. However, you have hope from God of reward in the next life, which they do not have. God is all-knowing, the wisest. O Prophet, God has sent down the book in truth to you so that you may judge among people as God has instructed you. Do not plead for the dishonest. Seek God's forgiveness. God is most forgiving, most merciful. Do not plead for those who are dishonest to themselves. God does not love him who is dishonest and sinful. They fear fellow human beings but do not fear God. God watches them when they plot at night what is not pleasing to God. God knows all that they do. You may plead for them in the life of this world. However, who will plead for them with God on the day of judgment? Or who will be their defender there? He who does evil or wrongs himself and then seeks God's forgiveness, he will find God most forgiving and most merciful. He who sins harms himself. God is all-knowing, the wisest. He who makes a mistake or sins and blames it on an innocent person carries upon himself the burden of a false charge and an open sin. Had God's grace and mercy been not upon you, O Prophet, a group of them were bent on misleading you. However, so doing they mislead only themselves. They cannot harm you in any way. God has sent down to you the book and wisdom and taught you what you did not know. God's favor on you is great. There is no good in most of the secret talks of people. However, secrecy is all right for promoting charity, justice, or reform of people. He who does so for earning God's pleasure, God will give him a big reward. He who opposes the messenger and follows a path other than that of Muslims, after guidance has become clear to him, God will let him do what he chooses. However, he will throw him into hell. What an evil place. God does not forgive the sin of taking partners with God. He may forgive any other sin, and he may forgive any sin other than this of whom he wills. He who takes partners with God goes far into error. While leaving God, they, the polytheists, call upon goddesses, and they call upon Satan, the rebel. God has cursed Satan. Satan said to God, I will take a certain portion of your servants. I will lead them into error and will fill them with false desires. I will ask them and they will cut off the ears of cattle. I'll ask them and they will disfigure God's creation. He who takes Satan rather than God for his guardian will face a clear loss. Satan only promotes them and fills them with false desires. Satan promises only in order to deceive them. Hell is the end of such people. They will not find any escape from it. As to those who believe and do good, God will admit them to the gardens beneath which rivers flow. They will live there forever. God's promise is true. Whose word is truer than God's? Neither your desires nor the desires of the people of the book matter. One who does evil will be punished for it. He will not find himself for any protector or helper other than God. One who does good male or female, and is a believer, will enter the gardens. They will not be wronged at all. Who is better in faith than he who submits his whole being to God and does good, and follows the way of Abraham, the truth in faith? God took Abraham for a friend. To God belongs all that is in the heavens and all that is on earth. God is aware of everything. O Prophet, they ask you a ruling about women. Tell, God gives you the ruling already stated. He reminds you of the verses in this book about the orphan woman, yet you do not give them the shares prescribed for them, and you still want to marry them out of greed. He reminds you also of the verses about the weak and helpless children. God directs you to do justice to the orphans. God knows all good that you do. If a wife fears ill treatment or desertion from her husband, there is no blame upon them if they reach a settlement among them. Settlement is best. Human beings are prone to be selfish. Do good and fear God. God is aware of all that you do. You cannot treat your wives with perfect justice, even if you want to do so. Yet do not turn fully towards one, leaving the other neglected. If you reform and fear God, God is most forgiving, most merciful. If the two separate, God will provide them out of His bounty. God is limitless, the wisest. To God belong all that is in the heavens and all that is on earth. He directed those who were given the book before you and you to fear Him. If you disbelieve, keep in mind that to God belong all that is in the heavens and all that is on earth. To God belong all that is in the heavens and all that is on earth. God is enough as the protector.